Hey, everybody. A few folks have asked me that I'm friends with, what made you go from being a Baptist to attending an Anglican church? And I wanted to just kind of lay out some of my reasoning. And granted, this is just my opinion and how I arrived at the decisions that I've made. First of all, I want to say that the big thing for me was I wanted a connection to the early church because I believe the church in the book of Acts and the early church up until Constantine converted the Roman Empire was a very, I guess you could say pure, but a very vital church. And so if you look at ancient documents like the Didache that outlines the precepts of Christianity, and you could even say is an early form of the Catechism, a lot of the practices within Anglicanism are found in the Didache. Now, not all of them, but the majority of them are, and many of the views of the Didache are reflected in Orthodox and Orthopraxy Anglicanism. So that was a big part of it. The sacraments, baptism and communion, being important and not just signs or a memorial was important. The fact that the worship is liturgical is important because I think it does two things. It puts the focus on the Eucharist at the conclusion of the service, and also it gives bounds for both joyful worship but at the same time, very reverent worship. And I think that many of the modern, and this is not all, but many of the modern churches, especially, I'd say non-denominationals and Baptists, the focus is so much on the sermon and the preaching, which is also important, that sometimes you miss the point that you're there is to worship God. And it's not just through songs. I think it's also through the Eucharist. And lastly, is the use of the prayer book, which outlines scripture readings that are done on a cycle where you get through a large amount of scripture, and every day you're reading scripture, and there are prayers as well to pray along with the scripture, or a family devotional if you choose. So it felt more like a fullness of faith and a connection to the original church, which is why I am an ardent supporter of Orthodox and orthopracticed Anglicanism. Anyway, thank you.